Good morning, Team Alabama. We are going to read a little more in the Hunger Games, beginning part 2, the games. And it's the start of chapter 10, and that is page 133. For a moment, the cameras hold on Peeta's downcast eyes as what he says sinks in, and then I can see my face and mouth half open in a mix of surprise and protest, magnified on every screen as I realize, me? He means me. I press my lips together and stare at the floor, hoping this will conceal the emotions starting to boil up inside of me. Oh, that is a piece of bad luck, says Cesar, and there's a real edge of pain in his voice. The crowd is murmuring in agreement. A few have even given agonized cries. It's not good, agrees Peeta. Well, I don't think any of us can blame you. It'd be hard not to fall for that young lady, says Cesar. She didn't know? Peeta shakes his head. Not until now. I allow my eyes to flicker up to the screen long enough to see that the blush on my cheeks is unmistakable. Wouldn't you love to pull her back out here and get a response? Cesar asks the audience, and the crowd screams assent. Sadly, rules are rules, and Katniss Everdeen's time has been spent. Well, best of luck to you, Peeta Mellark, and I think I speak for all of Panem when I say our hearts go with yours. The roar of the crowd is deafening, and Peeta has absolutely wiped the rest of us off the map with his declaration of love for me. When the audience finally settles down, he chokes out a quiet thank you and returns to his seat. We stand for the anthem, and I have to raise my head out of the required respect and cannot avoid seeing that every screen is now dominated by a shot of Peeta and me, separated by a few feet that in the viewer's heads can never be breached. Poor, tragic us. But I know better. After the anthem, the tributes file back into the training center lobby and onto the elevators. I make sure to veer into a car that does not contain Peeta. Veer means swerve or turn. I make sure to veer into the car that does not contain Peeta. The crowd slows our entourages of stylists and mentors and chaperones, so we have only each other for the company. No one speaks. My elevator stops to deposit 4 tributes before I am alone and then find the doors opening on the 12th floor. Peeta has only just stepped from his car when I slam my palms into his chest. He loses his balance and crashes into an ugly urn filled with fake flowers. The urn tips and shatters into hundreds of tiny pieces, and Peeta lands in the shards, and blood immediately flows from his hands. What was that for? He says, aghast. You had no right to go saying those things about me, I shout at him. Now the elevator opened and a whole crew is there. Effie, Haymitch, Cinna, and Portia. What's going on? Says Effie, a note of hysteria in her voice. Did you fall? After she shoved me, says Peeta, as Effie and Cinna hold him up. Haymitch turns on me. Shoved him? This was your idea, wasn't it? Turning me into some kind of fool in front of the entire country, I answer. It was my idea, says Peeta, wincing as he pulls spikes of pottery from his palms. Haymitch just helped me with it. Yes, Haymitch is very helpful to you, I say. You are a fool, Haymitch says in disgust. Do you think he hurt you? That boy just gave you something you could never achieve on your own. He made me look weak, I say. He made you look desirable, and let's face it, you can use all the help you can get in that department. You were about as romantic as dirt until he said he wanted you. Now they all do. You're all there talking about the star-crossed lovers from District 12, says Haymitch. But we're not star-crossed lovers, I say. Haymitch grabs my shoulder and pins me against the wall. Who cares? It's all a big show. It's all how you're perceived. The most I could say about you after your interview was that you were nice enough, although that in itself was a small miracle. Now I can say you're a heartbreaker. Oh, how the boys back home fall longingly at your feet. Which do you think will get you more sponsors? The smell of wine on his breath makes me sick, and I shove his hands off my shoulders and step away, trying to clear my head. Cinna comes over and puts his arms around me. He's right, Katniss. I don't know what to think. I should have been told so I didn't look so stupid. No, your reaction was perfect. If you'd known, it wouldn't have read as real, says Portia. She's just worried about her boyfriend, says Peeta gruffly, tossing away a bloody piece of the urn. My cheeks burn again at the thought of Gale. I don't have a boyfriend. Whatever, says Peeta, but I bet he's smart enough to know a bluff when he sees it. Besides, you didn't say you loved me, so what does it matter? The words are sinking in. My anger's fading. I turn now between thinking that I've been used and thinking that I've been given an edge. Haymitch is right. I survived my interview, but what was I really? A silly girl spinning in a sparkling dress, giggling. The only moment of any substance I had was when I talked about Prim. Compare that with Thresh, his silent, deadly power, and I'm forgettable. Silly and sparkly and forgettable. No, not entirely forgettable. I have my 11 in training. But now Peeta has made me an object of love. Not just his. To hear him tell it, I have many admirers. And if the audience really thinks we're in love, I remember how strongly they respond to his confession. Star-crossed lovers, Haymitch is right. They eat that stuff up in the Capitol. Suddenly, I'm worried that I didn't react properly. After he said he loved me, did you think that I could be in love with him too? I asked. I did, says Portia. The way that you avoided looking at the cameras and the blush. The others chime in, agreeing. You're golden, sweetheart. You're going to have sponsors lined up around the block, says Haymitch. I'm embarrassed about my reaction. I force myself to acknowledge Peeta. I'm sorry I shoved you. Doesn't matter, he shrugs, although it's technically illegal. Are your hands okay, I ask. They'll be all right, he says. In the silence that follows, delicious smells of our dinner waft in from the dining room. Like, waft means they come in. The smells come in. Come on, let's eat, says Haymitch. We all follow him to the table and take our places, but when Peeta is bleeding too heavily and Portia leads him off for medical treatment, we start the cream and rose petal soup without him. By the time we finish, they're back. Peeta's hands are wrapped in bandages, and I can't help feeling guilty. Tomorrow we will be in the arena. He has done me a favor, and I have answered with an injury. Will I never stop owing him? After dinner, we watch the replay in the sitting room, and I seem frilly and shallow, twirling and giggling in my dress. Although the others assure me that I'm charming, Peeta actually is charming, and then utterly winning as the boy in love. And there I am, blushing and confused, made beautiful by Cinna's hands, desirable by Peeta's confession, tragic by circumstances, and by all accounts, unforgettable. Okay, we're going to stop there for today. Please go ahead and add a couple more facts to your 50 facts. You can talk a little bit about how Peeta confessed that he loved her and her reaction, and then what she did when she got back to their room and to their area. Have a great rest of your day, Team Alabama.